What is good, everybody, and welcome back to the End Goal Podcast, the show where I like to have meaningful conversations with people about topics that I find informational or interesting. We're still gonna work on that script,
Yeah.
guys, but it doesn't matter about the script because we're talking to Aparna Verma, okay? This person, this individual right here with me, she's amazing. She wrote a book that I have 4 copies of, and, um, I've des I talked to her last year, which was okay. I'm gonna let Aparna talk, but I have to say this first. Last year, I read her book. That was a dramatically long pause. Last year, I read her book. My buddy and I, Tim, read her book, and I was like, I asked him, I was like, "Do you think she'd be down to come and talk to us on like our TikTok lives that we have?" And he was like, "Why don't you just ask her?" I, for one, thought I had zero clout to ask anybody to come talk to me about anything. Uh, but we reached out and she was completely down, and uh, that was awesome. That was the first time I'd ever reached out to somebody to talk to them about something that they'd made. And now here we are after reading book 1, reading book 2.
Yeah.
I got to see you in person at your signing, and now you're here on my podcast, and then book 3 is gonna eventually come out. There's gonna be some event for
We
that.
we've gotta do, like, a part 2 to, like, the TikTok live now with book 2
Oh
with
my
you and
god.
Tim.
We do have to. I don't think Tim, with his current schedule, has read it, but I still wanna chop it up with you too, specifically about Burning Queen, because this I like to have conversations with people on the podcast. So as much as I want to talk to you about your book, and we still will talk about the book, it might not be as in depth about the book because people might not have read it. But I want to go in depth about Burning Queen as well. Maybe closer to book 3, which name I still don't know. And
It doesn't have an
I don't.
official name. That's why.
Okay, okay. I was gonna ask you if there is an official name, or it's just like unnamed book 3.
It's just unnamed book 3 of the Ravence trilogy. That's
Oh
it.
my god.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's exciting. Now we can have Aparna talk to us. Aparna, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for
Thank you for
having
joining me.
I can see kind of the background in the corner,
Yes,
the Phoenix King and the Burning Queen
yes, and
right
I'm
there.
glad you said that because I'm gonna switch these 2 now because I have all 4 of your books in this cube. I wanna put
Uh-huh.
them down here in this cube instead. So at least 1 is here, and
Yeah.
everybody will see it at least in the full view, maybe not the, grid view, but yes. So let's start yapping. Aparna, can you explain to us why you're an author? Why
Why?
authoring? Why writing books?
That's a good question. What's my origin story? Is that what you're asking for?
What is the what is the author origin story? We'll determine if it's a villain or not, but what's the
The
author origin story?
the author origin story, I think, is actually very wholesome. I always knew as a kid that I wanted to be a writer. My mother swears that she knew when I was a baby because I would always scribble in books,
Mm,
and I just had like whenever I had a book in my hand, I would just scribble in it. Um, but when I was a kid and I loved Pokemon. I loved big adventure stories. I was very much a tomboy, but it always bothered me that the main characters were always guys and
mhm.
not girls. And so I started to write Pokemon fanfics as a kid. Like I don't know, maybe I don't know what
Interesting.
7, 8. Like I was in elementary school and I would maybe this is very foretelling, but I would write my favorite Pokemon was Charizard. So the whole firepower was maybe started from the very beginning. But I started off just writing fanfics. And then I think it became clear to me very, very early on that I need to write original work and my own work. So I only maybe wrote fanfics for 1 or 2 years and I immediately started writing my own adventure stories.
Mhm.
And the main character, her name was Sasha because I loved Beyonce and she had her
I
own those
see,
dark
Miss
years,
Fierce. I see.
right? And so I was like, "This is so cool. I wanna write
Mm,
about Sasha." Yeah.
interesting. So that's how you got started writing. So, I don't know what it is about where I grew up, small town Paris, Texas. I never knew fan fiction was a thing.
Yeah.
And I grew up as a reader, voraciously from the library. I grew up as a reader.
Yeah.
No one around me was ever like, "Do you read fan fiction?"
Yeah. No one
Even
really
my
talked
friend who
about
was
it.
the fan fiction addict, she was a year younger than me in high school, never brought it up to me in high school. She brought it to me in college or, like, later when I visited her and she
Yeah.
had knee surgery. And I'm like, "Why didn't anybody tell me about fanfics?" Because if it was back then, I would have probably dabbled in reading, not writing, guys. No,
Yeah.
we say it enough on the podcast. Everybody knows. Say it with me, guys. Antro will not write a book.
I
He's here to read books that other people write.
like
But
you know your place. Like,
I do 100%. 100. My place is reading other people's books. Just writing notes on every Red Rising, Golden Sun, and Morningstar chapter to like remind myself of the content to then go back and record it. I'm like, I can't do this.
yeah.
I don't like I don't like this process. Um, but Substack has been fun. Substack has been fun. I do agree. Once a week, sitting down and writing something is kind of
Yeah.
nice. It is kind of
Yeah.
nice. I'm not gonna lie. But okay, so you been writing from a very very young age. When did the idea for Ravence come into play?
The um it's an interesting story. So back when I was a preteen, again, I grew up as a tomboy. One of my favorite series was the Alex Rider series by Anthony
Mm,
Horowitz. I don't know if you've ever read those. It
I've
was
heard of it, but not read it.
They were the coolest books I read, at the time. It was about like a 15 or 16-year-old MI16 spy named Alex Rider who would go, each book was a new mission, spy adventure.
Mm,
And I thought it was the coolest thing, the way he was able to weave a series through multiple books, the writer. But there was one thing that bothered me. So there's this one character named Yasin Gagorvanch,
mhm.
who is an assassin. And yes,
Oh my god! That clicked like 2
and I can't
frames
show
in.
you my shirt. This is
Wow.
my Justice for Yasin shirt, but this
I
is for
love that
Yasin
shirt.
night.
I love that shirt.
My friend made it for me when for the book 2 release party.
That's awesome. Can she
But
make me one too? 'Cause I need that shirt.
I think we should one day there will be like Ravens merch one day.
There has to be.
Um, but I that's kind of like where my love for assassins named Yasin began
Sure.
because and this is a spoiler, but these books have been out for I think over a decade now. Um, yeah, I think Yasin Gagorevich dies in like book 3.
Sick.
And he was my favorite character. And I was like, "What? That's not fair." Like I wanted to see more of him. And later on, Anthony Horowitz wrote Russian Roulette, I believe, which showed his backstory, etc. But I sat down March 26th, I think 2013. I don't know the exact year. But I
Wow.
remember it was March 26th. And I wrote this sentence. I said, Yasin the assassin goes on an adventure and he meets his match in Alina.
Mm,
And that was the start of the Ravens series.
wow.
At the time, it was not what it is now. It was just a little inkling of an
Yeah.
idea. Um, I I don't even know if it was called Ravens at that time. I think it may have been like another country
Mhm.
name in itself. Um, and for over a decade, I would always play around with the story and let it grow and it would mature and adapt as I, grew and matured as a writer.
Yeah.
Um, and it wasn't really until 2020 when I decided to get serious.
Okay.
Mostly because I had um, been like I was an English grad from Stanford. Um, and I was just finishing up my degree, honors in the arts, top of my class, but I felt like I didn't have anything to show for it.
Mhm.
Very caustic thinking, would not recommend. Um,
Been
but
there.
I thought to myself, I got this fancy degree at a really fancy school. It's time I write the book. And then the pandemic happened. There was lockdown. We were stuck at home. I was unemployed because the job market was terrible. And so I decided, why I have all this time now. Why don't I write this book?
Mhm.
And so I ended up drafting the book in about 4 months.
Yeah.
So it was just fast. And I spent
Every day just writing.
it was just writing. And I spent the next year and a half editing. And then I self published it as A Boy with
Mhm.
Fire. Um, and then I think I self published it August 2021. And then by
Mhm.
October, I was ready getting noticed by Orbit.
Mhm.
And in December was when December, January was when we really started kicking off the talks. And
Yeah.
my editor at the time, Priyanka Krishan, who has now
Mhm.
left Orbit and works in, I think HarperCollins, um, she told me, she's like, I really like this book. Do you have an agent? Wink, wink. You should get an agent. Wink, wink.
Mhm.
And so I then got an agent, and I think by March or April of 2022, we had an offer on the
Mhm.
table. So it was fast. Like after the self-published version, it they acquired it. We pulled down the self-published version. I actually ended up adding 30,000 new words
Okay.
to the book. It was called The Phoenix King, and that's what it is today.
Mhm.
I always recommend people to read The Phoenix King. I think The Boy with Fire is good, but The Phoenix King is a lot more developed and it's longer. There's a lot more
Mhm.
threads that were
Right.
introduced in The Phoenix King that self-published version just didn't have.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, so much to unpack there. So the original story, was it more focused on Yasun than Elena, which is why it was called The Boy with Fire?
Well, it was called The Boy with Fire because who ends up being the prophet?
Oh, I see. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
I always love I so my favorite things about I love a good plot twist.
Sure.
I love when I can pull one off, which I think I was able to do in the Phoenix King slash Boy with Fire.
I
Uh,
didn't see that one. I'm not
yeah,
gonna lie to you, I didn't see it. I was pulling on all the wrong you know that game where you pull straws and you just keep pulling, like, the long one? And I'm like, "I
yeah,
keep pulling the wrong straw out of this."
yep, yeah. I think it's a point of pride. I think that I was
Yeah.
able to execute that plot twist because one of my favorite stories or movies to watch are the ones with plot twists. Like, say,
Mhm,
one of my favorites, The Prestige, with it was Christopher Nolan, it was with Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. Stellar
mhm.
cast, like superb. They were cooking. And I just remember in the beginning of the movie, they tell you the trick.
Yeah.
Like, where there's the kid, there's like the bird that dies, and the kid's like, "Where'd the bird go? He killed it." And the magician's like, "No, it's right here." And he produced another bird, but it looks like the same bird, but it's really the twin. And he said,
Mhm.
"No, you killed the brother." And then and they confiscate it, right? Like
Yeah.
you go through the whole movie, you're like, how does Christian Bale pull off this trick?
Mhm.
And it was a twin. It was a brother all along, and
Ooh.
you knew the answer. You just didn't know it was the answer. So I
Mm.
love pulling off plot twists like that where the answer was there if you were paying attention.
Mm.
And if you were like pulling out the signs. I think it was really more apparent with The Boy with Fire, where the title was like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this is who it is gonna be.
I mean, I just kept thinking it was the other person the entire time. That's
Yeah,
the thing, though,
I
'cause
know.
that's what you kept leading into. Because 'cause I'm like,
But that's the classic, like,
yeah,
you're, like, diverting the attention to the obvious who you think is the obvious choice, but really it
right,
was this person in the end, you
right,
know?
exactly.
So, I think that's
So,
fun.
yeah, that was definitely really fun. That was definitely really fun. I wanted to ask you about that, like,
Mhm,
4-month timeline of writing, a year and a half of editing, then self-publishing, then within the same year, agent, 6 months later, offer, like you said, it moved very fast.
mhm.
Why do you think it moved as fast as it did?
Mm, that's a good question. I think the reason I was able to draft it so quickly was, 1, because I had time, right? I was
Yeah.
unemployed. I was living at home with my parents, which is what I call it, that's a privilege to have, where
Mhm.
you have a family to take care of you and no big bills to pay, um, because your family is there to help. Like, not saying my family is rich or has a
Mhm.
lot of money, but I have parents who I can depend on who can feed me,
Yeah.
without asking me for rent money,
Yeah.
you know. And so I had the luxury of time.
Mhm.
And I think to make good art, you need time. You need space.
Mm.
Because this book was cooking in my head for over a decade,
Right.
and I had tried actually writing it before. I remember in sophomore year of college, I did NaNoWriMo, and
Mhm.
I wrote an early manuscript of The Phoenix King, and it was
Mhm.
absolute trash, like terrible, Um, but it helped me get my feet wet and understand what meant to be like a serious writer,
Sure.
right? Um, so the reason I think it went by so quickly in the 4 months is because that story was growing in my head for so long. I kind of knew what I wanted to say.
Mhm.
Um, and then I think when it comes to the acquisition, I can't speak for all of publishing, and I think every publishing deal is so different. But because there's a lot of like the boy with fire went viral on TikTok
Mhm.
um, a couple of times. It also went viral on Twitter. Um, it just got the attention of
I
publishing
see.
individuals,
Yeah.
industry. And once they see something that's hot, they're like, we want to get it. Like
Mhm.
we want it now. We want it before someone else notices. And
Mhm.
so that was pretty quick. Like once we had an offer on the table, I think within a couple of weeks we entered negotiations. We did an exclusive deal with Orbit because I think I really wanted. I've always loved Orbit as an imprint, and I saw myself there. But
Mm.
two, I love that I was getting inquired by a South Asian editor, like an Indian
Yeah,
editor.
yeah, yeah.
It made such a difference, I
Yeah.
think. One, to have someone from your community who looks like you advocating for stories that has characters that look like you,
Mhm.
right? Like I think people really underestimate what it means to have a diverse voice in the room. You
Mhm.
know, I think in this age where everyone kind of craps on DEI, I don't care for those people who do that because it's made a difference in my life.
Right.
It really truly has.
Yeah.
Um, because it helps me get the opportunity and the foot in the door, and
Mhm.
I will run with that opportunity. And I think
Yeah.
that's what I've done. Like, I've shown Orbit that yeah, I could push books, I can sell books, I can go on TikTok and like talk about my books. I can go to New York Comic Con and sell out all copies
Yeah.
of my books because there are readers who are interested. So
Mhm.
um, I think uh, publishing has always been a capitalistic commercial market, right? They're in it at the
Mhm.
end of the day to make money.
Yeah.
So then when they see something, a book that, again, at the end of the day, it's a product for them that's selling well, that's getting a lot of attention, they're going to grab it as quickly
Yeah.
as they can.
That's really cool. I think the limitation that a lot of authors and maybe a lot of just people who create things have now is there's so many people vying for different kinds of attention that
Hmm.
you need a specific kind of attention on your stuff,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, to your credit, you make good content that goes viral, even if it's not about books, which I want to
Yeah.
talk about later too.
Yeah.
But like, so for you, like, it feels like okay, cool. Like you, it. I know a lot of times people will say luck was a factor.
Oh,
Like my book got like it
for
lucky
sure.
went viral, lucky got
Luck
attention, all that
and
stuff.
timing.
Luck
Like,
and
luck
timing,
plays
right? But I feel
a
like
big part.
in some situations, for me, it's less like less luck and more just like it was bound to happen. It just happened then, also,
Yeah.
right? And that's kind of what that is what I want to say. Kind of here with your story is like it felt like less of a lucky break and more so like it was bound to happen, but it happened then, which is cool. It happened sooner rather than later,
I agree.
which is also lovely to hear.
Which I think like I've always lived by this philosophy of like take on opportunities as they come,
Mhm.
like always be prepared for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Like always find a way to say yes if you can. I think especially as like BIPOC writers,
Yeah.
BIPOC readers, etc. Like we don't get as many opportunities coming our way.
Yeah.
So when you do get it, like run with it, like
Mhm.
go for it. Um, and that's where luck and timing really plays a part, right? It could have happened, like you said, now, it could have happened 5 years from now, but it wouldn't have happened if I wasn't prepared, if I didn't have it
Mhm.
ready.
It
Like
it wouldn't have happened if you didn't make the book, right? Because like you said, it was
exactly.
cooking for like 10 years in your head, which I wanted to ask you this. Do
Hmm.
you ever feel like well, I guess maybe not now because you have seen the fruits of your labor, but back then you were like, "Oh, if I just could write this book. Oh, if I could just sit down and write this book. Something would change for me. Oh, if I could just do this right now. Why can't I do this right now? Why not now?"
Hmm.
has it have those had those thoughts ever kind of entered your brain up until COVID happened, then you actually did get the chance to start writing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was honestly at the end of the day, it was a discipline problem too. I think a lot of people want to be writers and publish authors, but then they lack
Mhm,
the time, the discipline, and sometimes the support to do so,
mhm,
right? Like I was in college and I had a very rigorous, course load. I was also working like
yeah,
during college because I had to pay bills and and like maintain my scholarship. So
mhm,
it was I was just pressed for time. And I really think that um some of the best writers are writers who are just able to carve out time to
mhm,
write. And it takes discipline. I think one of my favorite writers, Toni Morrison, like a goddess of a writer. Like she is so wise and so thoughtful in the way she crafts stories. And I remember when she wrote and published, I think her first book, The Bluest Eye, she had kids and was a teacher. So she had to, and she was like later
mhm,
on in her career, like she wasn't young when she first published her book. She was older. And I was like, if she could do that with kids, bills to pay, doing a full-time job, then I have no excuse.
right,
If she can do that with her everything that's on her plate, then I can do it too. And at the end of the
right,
day, that's what it comes down to, I think, for writers sometimes is
mhm,
we all have our own shit going on. We all have our own problems. Um, but at the end of the day, art will demand to be spoken or to be heard or to be written. And it's up to you to listen to that voice and carve
mm,
out the time and snatch it from everything else that's, calling your attention in the day. Um, at the end of the day, it just really ends on you to sit down and do your art and, and pay attention to your art and, put in the labor of it.
yeah. Go g Going from there, I
Hmm.
kinda wanted to walk us to the work that you do now,
Yeah.
right? Because you are working on book 3, that's in progress. You
Hmm.
still have to make content, keep selling Phoenix King, Burning Queen. You have your own job as well, and
Yeah.
amongst other things, like, you're doing events and stuff like that too. I think you're at Imaginarium coming up as well.
Yes, I'm so excited. I love that festival.
I'm trying to get tickets right now.
You should.
'Cause I kept missing the resale ones, and so I'm trying to catch those resale ones, like, quickly.
Hmm.
Um, but how are you finding time for all of that?
Mm, so honestly, some days are better than others, and there is no set schedule, you know, of like, okay, every day at 5 a.m. I'm gonna wake up and like write.
Mhm.
Um, I can't do that. I one am not a morning person.
Fair.
I'm very much more so a night owl. But also I think the demands of the day and demands of the week change, and that's just part of life.
Mhm.
Um, so I like especially for book two, I spent a lot of my time on weekends writing. Saturday, Sunday, I would put like 6 to 8 hours a day just on writing. And that was like another full-time job. And I did that for about a year and it was exhausting. But
Yeah.
that's eventually how I was able to carve it out because I had a full-time job at a startup
Right.
that doesn't really abide sometimes by the nine to
Yeah.
five. Like you sometimes work weekends, you work like nights, you work overtime,
Sure.
and that's just part of the game. So, and this goes back to my point of like you have to carve out time because if you just let things happen, you could go weeks without writing
Mhm.
because you're just caught in all the hubbub. But it doesn't take that long to just it doesn't take that much to carve out 15 minutes.
Yeah.
15 minutes then turn into 30. 30 then turn into an hour. Um, one of my favorite ways to write, I don't know if I think it's called the Pomodoro method.
The
Um,
Pomodoro method?
I think it's like you do
Yeah.
15 minutes on and 15 minutes off, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
love that. That's how I was able to edit book 2.
Interesting. Just
That's
like
like that was the only way I could do it because I was like, "Look, I have so much going on right now in my life.
yeah.
I can only do it 15-minute snatches." And I had a writing group full of
Mhm.
amazing authors, and we held each other accountable. We would do sprints together. and it was the best. Like
Yeah.
that writing group really helped me get through edits for the Burning Queen. And I think that's another part of the puzzle that I sometimes people don't talk about is having a really supportive writing group full of either your peers or people you really trust, to be there as a sounding board or just to be there as a silent, um, I don't know, like participating in the same trauma of like
Yeah.
deadline, just commiserating together. It just really
For
helps.
sure.
You
For
know,
sure. I can
you
see
have to
that.
put bodies in chairs and
Mhm.
work on your laptop.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of, like, writing groups. I've how do I put this? To me, writing groups are like run clubs.
Okay.
Like
I live
like,
in Austin, so that's like loaded to say.
maybe it is. I live in Pennsylvania, I haven't seen one. But I guess to me, it's like people who don't run join a run club, and they start loving running.
Yeah,
I've seen people who aren't maybe, like, just into their writing, join a writing group, and now they're pumping out, like, either, like, words a day or,
yeah,
like, in Tim's Discord, like, they have a writing group, and so I'll see them, like, when everybody's in their season of writing, they'll just be in Discord muted, and they're just writing, and then
yeah,
they'll, like, type in the chat, "How's it going?" But, like,
hmm,
they're just writing,
yeah.
and so seeing that level of, like, accountability, holding each other accountable makes me think, like, we need more writing groups. We don't need more run clubs anymore, but we need more writing groups is what we
We do
need.
not need run clubs. I think run clubs, the real reason there's more run clubs nowadays because there's like more singles. And
Yeah.
this is where like this is other than like going to a bar or clubbing,
Yeah.
this is where you meet people. I
Did
do
you
not recommend dating other writers.
Oh, no,
It's
date dating somebody who's gonna have the same time crunches as you are, just make it really tough to connect to anybody because 'cause you're like,
yeah.
we can write together." No,
Like you have a
because
deadline, I have a
because we
deadline.
won't see each other, like, you won't be able to do anything because 'cause I'll have to write and then you'll have to write.
Yeah.
There was this one thing actually, it's completely side tangent. I saw this one
Mhm.
news article where, a lot of these dating apps like, Hinge and Tinder and Bumble and stuff are planning, like, in-person meetings for their members to, like, "Hey, like, here's this, like, group event," or whatever it is, and it's, like, this app
Mhm.
that when people were trying to meet people in person, took meeting people online, is now pushing people to meet each other in person again because
Yeah.
meeting online isn't working that well. So it's, like, reverting back to how it already worked and worked well in the past because it's not working well now,
Who would have thought?
and I'm like, "Are you" and they talk about it like it's a new thing, though. That's my thing. That's what I love about, uh, new age, like, not, like, just social media tech or whatever it is. Something's new even though it's not.
Mm-mm.
What was it? Scandinavian scarves?
Yeah.
Um, whatever, like, what brand was it that did the Jumkas, like, really, really
Ralph
aggressively?
Lauren.
R ra Oh my god. I showed Ayushi those so for anybody listening, so Ralph Lauren came out with these earrings that resemble what are we call Indian jhumkas, which are like a more so a large, like, colorful,
Look,
sometimes, like,
look pretty.
audible, like, like, bell-like earring or whatever it is, right? And it's very, like, festive, it's very, like, going out, it's very lavish, it's nice, it's actually really cool part of the culture.
Mhm.
And then they come out with their versions, and it is dull, it is drab. It's like when you see those, like, really post-apocalyptic, like, shows and movies where you
Yeah.
have the one really vibrant culture and the one very, like, sober, somber, black and white,
Yeah.
sleek, like, modern culture. That's exactly what happened. I would really urge you guys to go to Aparna's page and look up, like, what she did because I love how you were like, "Here's what was it?
The doer.
The doer.
Can't outdo the doer.
You
Like
can't
here.
outdo the doer." I think that tagline is awesome. Did you come up with that yourself?
No, well, no, it's based off of the viral TikTok sound. You can't outdo the doer. It was Nicki Minaj.
Okay.
Let me just say I am not a Nicki Minaj fan, especially after what she pulled with Trump. I was like,
Yeah,
no. However, that sound fire. She's like,
fire.
can't outdo the doer. Like you can't. what was the rest of it? She outshine the shiner.
Mhm.
It's just like a TikTok sound now, and
Yep.
it's great.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, this whole new culture of like, let's remake things, but modern. It's like you're remaking things that don't need to
And
be
like
remade,
rename it.
and you're renaming it, and you're calling it something else that it's not. What was it? So we
And I
have
always
the
this
Scandinavian scarves, which are basically like dupattas. You
yeah,
have jhumkas that are being remade. You had the old school culture of wrapping like a baby in a cloth to your body that people back in the day said, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. You need a stroller." And now
mhm,
they're making products that are like baby wraps to like wrap around your body to hold the baby closer to your body because now it's being shown that it does help baby development. And I'm
yeah,
like, where can we be real?
yeah, yeah.
Can we be real for a second?
You know what's the thing that drives me up the wall is that on TikTok, people will just like slap on theory at
Yep.
the end of something. It's like, oh my gosh, it's a brand new concept. No, baby girl, it existed
Yeah.
for a decade.
It's brand new to you
It's
because
brand
you don't know where it came from.
I always feel like sometimes, and I'm like, I am Gen Z. So, but sometimes I think of that scene from the Chronicles of Narnia where it's the White Witch and like Aslan, and Aslan says, "Do not recite the old magic to me, woman. Like I was there when it was made."
Yeah,
And I feel like that sometimes
exactly.
on TikTok where like people are like, "Oh, like a new concept of say like hair oiling, right?"
Mhm.
And people doing like the slick back buns and like the middle part. And I'm just like, this is how Indian aunties would wear their hair and
Yep.
oil their scalp for generations. And you're telling me this is not the clean girl aesthetic? This
This
is
is
existing.
what our Indian daughters would get bullied at for school for
Yes,
having going to school
I was
for.
bullied like that in elementary school. So I just, yeah, it comes back.
Yep. Yep, it really does. Everything comes back. And that's where I wanna take us right now because how do you approach your social media? Because 'Cause let's be honest here, you
Mhm.
have banger videos, okay?
Thank
Let's
you.
be honest. Regardless of how well they do, because they do also do really well, banger videos. But how do you approach what you like to talk about online? Is it based off interest? Is it based
Yeah.
off of, like, influence? Is it based off of, um, I have something to say? Or do you ever think like, "Oh, I should say something?"
Yeah. Well, I think for me, so I have worked in marketing for a long time now, ever since college and during college internships. So like marketing has always kind of been my playground. And when it comes to my personal social media, I knew for TikTok, for the longest time, actually, I didn't want to join.
Mhm.
Um, because I thought, oh, this is just like people just dancing online because that's what it
Same.
used to be, right? In the
Yep.
beginning. And then my brother during the pandemic told me, actually there's this thing called book talk.
Mhm.
And there are people around here like writing books and talking about books. And I know you're writing one, so you should really join. And I dragged my feet and dragged my feet. And it wasn't until I think um I had finished writing The Boy with Fire and edited it.
Yeah.
I think in like May or April of 2021 was when I made my TikTok account.
Mhm.
And for the first month, I didn't post anything. I
Mhm.
just studied. Like I studied the algorithm. I studied what videos went viral on Book Talk, what people were talking about, how they were talking about books. I didn't know what tropes were when I joined Book Talk. Like I didn't know what enemies to lovers, slow burn.
Yeah.
I wasn't really part of um Wattpad or AO3. Like so
Yep.
I didn't really consume that. So I didn't know what the tags were and how that culture, traveled over to Book Talk. Um, so I at the beginning it was all kind of like experimental and it was all
Mhm.
dedicated to promoting what was back then The Boy with Fire.
Mhm.
Because I thought I was like, well, I'm self-publishing it. I need to get it out there. And I'm just gonna do it in a way that hopefully best represents the book. I'm sure I made some mistakes along the way because I was still learning and I didn't
Mhm.
know um I don't know what certain tropes or like songs or how to like make a TikTok video. There is a learning curve.
Yep.
But as I got more experience, I realized my social media started to grow where it wasn't just about book talk and like the
Mhm.
books that I write. It became more about publishing as a whole, writing. as a whole, the culture as a whole. So like
Mhm.
I recently did a video about AI
Yep.
in publishing. And I remember making that video a couple weeks ago when there was that scandal with Daggermouth, written by H.M. Wolf, um, who was wrongfully accused of using AI to write her book because
Mhm.
there's another book also called Daggermouth, which was very clearly written by AI, and so
Mhm.
people were conflating the two very different authors.
I see.
Um, and she's a Black author, H.M. Wolf. And so I remember when this all went down, how quickly people are to tear down BIPOC writers, specifically, like
Mhm.
especially women of color,
Yep.
and they don't have that same energy for white straight men who use AI and
Yep.
admit to it. So to me, like I think it's like James Frey. I think is the author who admitted to using AI in his books, um, and he didn't have his deals pulled. I don't
Right.
believe, but I don't know for sure. I think
Mhm.
I don't have the full context with it. Um, but I remember seeing that, and I just wanted to call out the hypocrisy.
Mhm.
One, because I'm very strongly anti AI in creative arts. I do
Mhm.
understand that AI has specific use cases, like say in medical research, in like what's it called, autonomous vehicles research.
Mhm.
I get that, like there is no future, I think, where we don't have AI. I think
Yeah.
it's gonna stick, but I want it out of the arts
Mhm.
because the arts are, at the end of the day, so valuable and so uniquely human.
Mhm.
um it's what makes us different from other organisms. What other
Yeah.
organisms create art, right? Like we're the only ones who do it. y- you're not seeing dolphins creating
Yeah.
like girls in the sea.
Mhm.
So it's so uniquely human. Why would you let a robot take that away from you?
Yeah.
It's just
Just
that
to like
one big human quality. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who don't see it like that, which is unfortunate.
it's so
But I
unfortunate.
do see, like,
Yeah,
if I'm gonna steel man this, like, people see art as the result, and so
yeah,
they want what's in their brain thinking that it's art to exist. They
no,
don't they don't attribute the time put into making that art as part of the art
no.
product. They just see the end product as the art. So it's
I
like,
think.
"Okay, I wanna read a book about this."
Mm,
So, AI, write me a book about write me a story about this. I wanna read a book about this. Hey, I really wanna make a video on this. So I wanna watch a video about this thing. So AI, make me the video so I can watch it, and then I
yeah,
can send it to people saying, "Hey, look how cool this is. I made this.
yeah,
Sorry, AI made this." Like,
yeah,
it's just like, they don't understand. I enjoy books because they're written by other people.
yeah,
Somebody sat in their room, library, cubicle, bed, and typed out these how many ever tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of words
yeah,
for me to read in 24 hours.
yeah,
And I'm gonna consume I'm gonna use that entire 24 hours to
yeah,
relish this book.
yeah,
Um, and I'm not going to give your AI product the same, like, grace either. Like, I'm
yeah,
not gonna say, "Hey, good job making that thing. You didn't make it."
yeah,
Right? So I agree with you. Can I share with you my AI thing? Because
yeah,
so I we talked offline right before this, and I said this week was a beating.
yeah,
So I got accused indirectly of using AI in Fableware. So I made art for Tim's Kickstarter.
yeah,
Great art. I love it. Everybody loves it. I think my artist banged it out. And so that caught the attention of like another author who asked for like the artist, and Tim was like, "Can I give them the artist?" I was like, "I'd rather keep that private because I use them for Fableware, and I want to keep that on the low. But if they want some art, I can work with them. We can make something happen like we did for your Kickstarter." He said, "Okay, cool. Refer them to you." That author emailed me. I would talk to them. I said, "I would love to make art with you. We can make the same type of art that we made for his, and we can bring it to life." And we agreed. Um, brother sent the deposit, all that stuff, right? So we were making art. So
Yeah.
I took the next almost a week talking to my artist, sent him the details that we had, and he sent me like sketches periodically, and I would refine it based on what I think it should look like before I even went to the author, just to give them like, here's what we think
Mhm.
it should look like, back and forth, and then um, send it to him. And so the author is like, "Hey, just I should have asked this beforehand, but was AI used in the process of this? Because my audience and I have a very like hard no AI rule and all this
Yeah.
stuff." And I was like, "I can assure you that no AI was used in this because I
Mhm.
know my artist. I vetted him. Like he doesn't use AI.
Mhm.
I can't make art, but I want to see these to life, so I pay someone to do it. That's what you do."
Yeah.
Um,
I
and I
mean,
made
that's
sure
fine
he
with all my commission artwork, like,
exactly
yeah.
right. And so I said no, but they came back and said, "Hey, we're gonna." They came back the next morning saying, "Hey, we're gonna have to terminate this. Thank you for all your work. I have somebody else working on this stuff." My face was the exact same as your face. So
Hmm.
I was bummed because this was a very different opportunity for Vaporware. It was like working with an author to bring their ideas to life, which is so far it's just been what's in my brain comes onto these shirts and I try and sell them. That's what Vaporware is. It's
Yeah.
bookish minimal apparel. Um, and so this was gonna be something really cool. So I was excited, and then this happened,
Mm.
and this was on like Thursday. Um, and so I just messaged him. I was like, "Hey, didn't work out. Something happened. Brother backed out. It's tough, but you know, understandable. Something may have happened. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is, but something happened." And then he sends me a thread that this person posted saying, "I think I got scammed by AI art. This sketch, these two things in this sketch make me think that it's AI. Kind of bummed, and etc. All that stuff." Right?
Yeah.
Didn't tell me that this is what they thought. They just saw the sketch that I sent them and said, "Oh, these two details got to be AI." I looked at the details. I was like, "I don't think that's AI. I think my artist just kind of roughed it a bit, and I didn't notice."
No.
Which I would have gone back and had them fixed. So that entire process, and then me going back to my artist and being like, "Hey, just to make sure you didn't start using AI either, right?" And then didn't tell me. And he was
Mm.
like, "No, I can send you like the time lapse of this as well." He's currently off for Eid, and I was like, "Please take your time off. Like it's
Yeah.
Eid is important." But seeing that, I was like, I kind of get how certain people feel
Yeah.
being accused of using AI because I'm like that hurt.
Yeah.
That hurt me indirectly. I haven't confronted this person. I don't plan to. I kind of just want to let them live their life. But I was like, that hurt.
Yeah.
Um, in many different ways. And so now I'm like, so this happened on Thursday. This happened Thursday morning.
Mhm.
Uh, I haven't had an anxiety attack in a long time. I had a
Mm.
massive anxiety attack that day. I was talking to Tim, and I was in my like work scheduling meeting. I just closed my laptop. Like
Mm.
I'm virtual. I'm on off cams, whatever it is. If somebody asked, I would have been like, I had to step away. I just closed my laptop. I was done for the day
Yeah.
because I couldn't wrap my head around like that's tough. And then so I really feel for authors like H.M. Wolf, and I feel for other people who get accused of using AI
Yeah.
in their things. And I'm like, that sucks. It
Yeah.
sucks that like you can use AI, get away with it,
Yeah.
and because there's like a witch hunt about this,
Yeah.
things that aren't AI can also be accused of being AI because there's a fault.
And I think what's really pernicious about this whole debacle is that AI was trained illegally on pirated books.
Mhm.
It was trained on real human voices.
Yep.
So now it imitates those voices. And now everyone's like, trying to become anti-AI. They think the voices it's mimics were not real in the first place.
Yep.
But what they don't understand is like actually AI is just echoing what this writer 10 years ago wrote.
Mhm.
And I remember someone plugged in a book. There was a thread where they plugged in their book, like a book like written a decade ago,
Mhm.
and they plugged into an AI detection software, and the AI said this is AI.
Yeah.
And there was no reality where it was written by AI because it was written a decade
Mhm.
ago before AI existed. But because AI is trained off of copyrighted material,
Yeah.
it illegally scraped the web. It used, I'm pretty sure, I think it also scraped like AO3 and fanfics, like
Mm.
websites. So taking like real human voices,
Yeah.
and now it like posits it as its own. People are now becoming very hyper village vigilant
Yep.
and wary of these original voices because
Mhm.
AI is now mimicking them. So
Yeah.
it's a really dark, pernicious tangle and cycle. And I wish we had better answers to it. I think
Yep.
though, and this is a point that I made in my video about AI. I think we're coming very, very close to a crux where the decisions that are going to be made now are now going to echo for decades of how we contend with AI in art. I think
Mhm.
publishers now have to figure out and make a decision, and that's going to leave lasting effects. So we have to make sure that we are making the right decisions now, because if not, then we're going to have a free for all. You know,
I really like the idea you said about the label
yeah, like having
because
a sticker like
listen, take my unremovable Netflix TV show sticker on my Six of Crows book and slap on either on the front of the cover, or if you don't want to for, like, business reasons and you still wanna push these books, I better see it on the on the inside of the cover jacket next to where the summary is,
yeah.
disclaimer, or, like, just circle, bracket,
Yeah.
AI,
AI
whatever
was
it is, right?
used in the creation process or in the
Right.
editing. I think, and that's another thing. I'm glad we're having this conversation because I think this is happening in publishing right now.
Yeah.
Is like, what constitutes as written by AI?
Yeah.
Does it, because writers could write a book without AI, but what if their editor uses AI?
Yep.
What if the copy editor uses AI? What
Yep.
if the layout editor used AI? There's so I don't think people understand there's so many stops in the production timeline in publishing where there can be multiple cases where someone could come in that's not the author and the author doesn't know who
Yep.
uses AI. And
Yep.
suddenly it's then back on the author though.
Yep.
They're like, Pikachu face, I didn't know because you're not laying out your book in traditional
Yep.
publishing.
Yep.
I just want to make a caveat. This is about traditional publishing. Self-publishing, you're more in control of the pipeline, the
Mhm.
production pipeline, because you are the publisher at the end of the day,
Mhm.
and you have to take responsibility for that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to trad publishing, like I didn't like lay out my book,
Mhm.
like with the chapter headers and the artwork, they had a professional do that. How do
Yep.
I know the professional never used AI? I
Yeah.
know because it's in my contract that it's not. I can't use. There can be no AI in my book.
Mhm.
Um, um,
So,
and
what
I specifically asked my publisher, "There's no. I don't want AI to
Mhm.
be used in my book." But I wonder now if there's going to be like different versions of stickers where someone it's like this was AI was used in the draft process. AI was used in the editing process, but not the draft process. AI was used in the cover design only, nothing about the writing. But then you're like, what is that going to be
Mm,
overwhelming for the consumer? How do you then decide if you want to write a book or like buy a book? I personally would not buy a book where AI was used in the cover design or in the writing process.
agree. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, "Those 2 are non-negotiables,"
Those are
and
non-negotiables.
my
But
brain was going to, like, the editing part of, like, what if somebody uses, like, a souped up Grammarly or something like that,
yeah,
that's like, "Okay, cool. I know we make mistakes in the editing process." I also know, like, editors edit a lot of books too, and a lot of manuscripts. So, is there a faster way just to make speed up that process of, like, technical stuff? I don't want AI to be like, "You should rewrite this thing." No. But like, "Hey, yo, this semicolon, this comma, I think you have a bit too many exclamation points in this paragraph." Like, that kinda stuff is cool, I don't mind that. But, like, if AI is rewriting it,
yeah,
that's fucked up.
yeah,
What you were saying there, and I kinda wanna pose a solution. Since we're talking about it, I also wanna pose solutions to people who are
yeah,
listening. Um, I think we need a sticker that just says, like AI on the, like where? Dungeon Crawl was not used by AI guys, but somewhere
mhm,
on the inside of the slipcover, like somewhere down here, like a little AI note, and then going into like, ooh, this is the exact page I wanted. Going into this page right here is
yeah,
where I need lines of like what you said. AI was used in this process, not in this process, not in this process. So even if I come across this book and it looks interesting, and I see that tag, I can at least go here and be like, was it used in any of the ways I care about? I
Yeah.
do know that people will not do that
Yeah.
because how many people go read that section anyway?
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
where it would
I
be.
think people who care will look out for it. And I think actually, I don't know, I think we might be underselling it. I think there are a lot of people who care, or are beginning to care and become
Right.
more aware and demand, I don't want AI in my art because I don't want
Mhm.
to put my money towards that. Or like, and
Yeah.
I think the more you can empower the consumer, the reader, to make the
Yeah.
decision of like where their hard-earned money is going, I think the more we can kind of protect creativity, human art.
Mhm.
So I am a proponent of like, hey, if you used AI in the process of either writing your book, editing, cover art, just disclose it. And if you
Mhm.
don't want to disclose it, then that's, I don't know. I wonder if that's a weird admission of guilt because why would you not? If you're going to use it,
If
why
you're
not
gonna
just
use it, you might as well own it and say, "I did, and but I still think my shit bangs. I still think my product is good. I still think this is good. This is how I used it." Like, why not talk about it, right? And I think it's because of this witch hunt though, right? Because
yeah,
people just hear AI and turn off,
yeah,
and they're not willing to have the deeper, nuanced conversation of, "Listen, AI is a lot of things. AI means a lot. AI is an umbrella term now, right?
yeah,
So, like, I used it in this very specific way because it sped up my process or it had helped my process to make this thing a much better thing.
yeah,
But I did not use it in the creative art
yeah.
process.
And like nothing
Um,
in the creative production.
yeah.
I think going back to your point too of um the reason we buy books, or the reason you said you bought a book, is because you knew there was a human at the other side of it who spent
Mhm,
hours, you know, dedicating and like laboring over writing these words on a page. And I think that is the beauty of writing.
mhm,
It You are in a one-way conversation with a writer's mind. And
yeah,
it is most probably the most intimate way you can connect with a stranger
mhm,
never met. Some of these writers are dead who you will never meet, but suddenly you know the intimacies of their mind because you read their book,
mhm,
or you understand intimacies of the world they created, because you read their book. So I think it's a beautiful radical act of empathy
mhm,
when we read and when
yeah,
we create art. So AI has no place in that because AI doesn't understand empathy. AI doesn't
right,
understand context. AI doesn't understand texture. And yes, I just did a list of three like AI does, but this is human. And that's how humans talk too. So to me, I think AI is just a poor mimicry of human creativity. And the faster we understand that and like start to regulate it, I think um, the more quickly we can protect just, human art and human creativity.
mhm. I literally just saw a tweet today that a popular game publisher
Mm,
was not thinking of, I believe they are looking to put AI into their next game in the form of a specific, like, side pet, like, mascot character
mhm.
is AIified to where you can, like, ask it things in game and it'll, like, give you answers in game, whether it's,
Oh, okay.
um, hints here or responses to your comments here or whatever it is, and it has, like, text to speech, it has kind of, like, image recognition on the screen and things like that. And I know a lot of people don't like AI in their games, same way that people don't like AI in their books, like, they don't like AI in their games. There was another publisher who used AI in their game, or a game developer, I think it was for Arc Raiders,
Mhm,
um, and I forgot in what way they did, but gamers really hate a lot of hardcore gamers hate AI in their games as well. And
mhm.
so seeing this, like, it was just sent in a Discord that I'm in, and the next person said pass, just because, like, as soon as they see that, they're like, "Oh, that's kind of no AI, no." In my head, I paused and I thought about it. Like, I know I have this visceral reaction to AI and creative arts. I know I do. So let me pause, like an intelligent human being, and think about this. If I played this game, they told me it was AI in it. They told me this mascot was AI, and it's just here to enhance my enjoyability of the game, and I don't have to use it. Is that a problem?
Yeah, yeah,
And my thing is like, no. If they're forcing me to use it, it's pushed upon me, and they wouldn't make the game without it or whatever it is, then I might think differently. But so then I'm trying to think like that's the same way I think about like various I'm my brain is firing way too fast. Let me slow down everybody. Let me calm down. I'm trying to take a pause and think about these things every
Mhm.
time I see the topic. What I don't want to do is be a part of the witch hunt, is be a part of the
Yeah.
um, one person said this, therefore it must be real. Because why would somebody say it out loud if it wasn't true and put it on the internet? So it's got to be true, which means my feelings are validated because they said that this
Yeah.
thing was AI and
Yeah.
it's AI is wrong. So I've been trying to like when I see these news articles and see these like posts, and I'm thinking, how do I actually feel about this specific situation,
Mhm.
not AI, this specific situation? How do I feel about it, right? And so going back to like just just like AI and creative arts and stuff, I was thinking about while you were talking that the pro this whole thing has been kind of what's what okay, I need to write a brain. What's the word for like if I'm trying to say that the whole slop social media like stuff that's been coming out because like AI made slop
Yeah.
is happening in books. Is it called symbolizing it, exemplifying it? Like what's the word there?
Um, uh, it's not condoning it, but
Replicating?
no, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's depiction is not endorsement.
Yes,
Endor-
exactly.
Endorsing it.
So um that's kinda what I'm seeing here is like, you know how people will say the best content is like when you just put up on your phone and just talk like just to the phone, don't worry about the production, don't worry about all this stuff, right? And we always talk about how the videos that we make, that we pour our heart and soul and 20 hours into never do as well as the 7-second things that we think are slop, right? That's kind of where I'm seeing this AI thing is like people are like so much more willing to like back AI because it's like, oh, this is like it's not taking itself too seriously. It's not
Mhm.
that serious, guys. It's just fun. It's just fun little games here and
Yeah.
there. Haha, tee hee, right? As opposed to the person who makes the person who spends a week writing a book and puts it on KDP
Yeah.
versus the person who spends 2 years writing a book and toiling and calling up artists to for book covers and
Yeah.
trying to find an editor and querying
Yeah.
and then self-publishing it and then self-marketing it and all that stuff, right? It's like there are people who might just read the 1 week KDP AI book and be like, "Dang, that shit banged. I need another one of those."
Yeah.
And then not even touch the 2-year masterpiece that was just created.
Yeah.
And that's kinda what I'm afraid of. I was
Yeah.
talking to maybe Shamey, a couple of weeks ago of like, I'm afraid of reading something that doesn't have an AI label. And
Yeah.
if I do like it,
And
I'm
yeah.
fucked,
Yeah.
right? I'm gonna
Well,
feel so shitty.
that's I mean, a lot of readers are feeling that way with I think the latest book, I think Shy Girl. Where and I don't know like the full facts of the case. So I'm not going to talk too much about it because I think in the New York Times article when they reported it, I don't think they even revealed like how they found out it was AI. So I'm also like interested to hear this investigation unfold and the real proof.
Mm,
Um, but there have been cases where people have read a book
mhm.
um, and they liked it, and they found out later it was written by AI,
Yeah,
and you have this sense of betrayal,
yeah.
but then you also have a sense of like, your self doubt. Where you're like, wait, I liked it. What does that mean?
It's like it's like you discovered you're bi-curious because 'cause you're
Yeah,
like, I didn't mean to, but it's kinda nice, so I don't know how I feel about it now." Um,
I love it. Yeah, because
and it's like
yeah,
it's
it's
it
hard.
it's hard when I don't like AI slop, but I love the one time that I saw those, like, AI slop videos of those different elements being spread across that piece of AI butter AI toast, and they would, like it's like the ASMR of pouring, like, diamonds onto toast and then spreading it and stuff like that, and I'm like, "That shit sounds great. This video looks great. I know it's AI." and I will watch this once, and I will leave this forever. But I
Yeah.
know now I know that this exists,
Yeah.
and so it's
No,
like,
listen, my mom will send me AI generated videos.
yeah.
Like I love text her, Mom, this is AI. But she'll say, This is so funny though. Do you see the cat? And I'm like, Yes.
My wife's the same way because she'll just scroll on reels, and so, like, she showed me those, like, videos. I'm like, "You know, this is AI." She's like, "Yeah, but it's so cool." I'm like, "I know, but it's specifically designed," and I start getting all technical and all this stuff with her, and I'm like, she's not the end consumer. She's not the person that I'm trying to convince.
Yeah.
She just isn't, right?
Yeah.
And so that's like the second layer to this, right? All of us on, like, Book Talk, all of us who talk about these things and try and be a part of this conversation are still not the majority, because
Mm,
there's people, older generations, middle generations, that aren't in these spaces, that just don't know,
yeah.
or the same way, they don't care because they have their own life, and they
Yeah.
couldn't give a fuck. If they like this content, they like the content,
Uh,
right? If it makes them feel happy when they come back from their 48 hours of toiling away in the medical field or whatever it is, and they
yeah.
don't, it doesn't matter to them, right? And so it's like, how do we talk to those? I guess it's not even like, how do we talk to those people? This is why we're talking to publishers. This is why we're talking about publishers, talking about the industry itself,
Mhm.
because you can't talk to a greater majority who's not listening. You have to talk to the people who you think would listen,
Mhm. And I
right?
think this is also why it goes back to my point before of how the conversations that we're having now about AI in publishing will have ramifications for decades from now because
Mhm,
decisions need to be made now of
mhm,
how are we going to contend with AI? How do
mhm.
we regulate it? How do we um, make sure it's disclosed, like in what manner, right, in what context, in what depth, right? um because you're going to have the people, the masses who, like you said, are working, 23-hour jobs, right, doing really really long shifts, and they come back and maybe they don't have the time to discern what's AI, what's not. Like they're
Yeah,
just consuming because they have hard lives and they have other
yeah,
shit to do, and honestly they might just not care. But it's the people who care who have to set the standard,
mhm,
right? Because then that's going to be the standard that everyone consumes, and
mhm,
people accept it. So people will accept a non AI future if that's the one that we create now.
yeah.
People will also accept an AI future if that's the one we create now.
So
So
good. Wow, that's so true.
it's like I'm a writer or something.
It's like I'm a wordsmith, like,
It's like it's my job.
that was so good,
But
because you
that's
know,
what I'm saying. Like we have to make the industry professionals, the ones who are like the money makers, the movers in the industry. They're the one who have to set the standard because
mhm,
everyone else will follow them. It's why we need to have a constant active conversations, not just in publishing, but also in Hollywood, right? In music, there's like AI generated
oh
song
my god, the AI music.
artists, and I'm just like,
I
I
mean, and just, it's platforms like Spotify that I'm like, they push it because they know they're getting so many streams of this thing,
yeah,
right? And so when I first heard that come out, I at this point have still never heard, like, okay, first of all, I need to take a step back. I'm missing a lot of, apparently, really, like, all the content that you see on TikTok, that other people talk about TikTok, the drama that people do, like, that people see, I see none of it.
yeah.
Now,
For you
do
page is different, yeah,
my For You page is just not, just, like, non-existent with any of these things, right? I mean, it's people on TikTok top shop trying to sell me more tech gadgets for my office. I bought another one, I did, I'm not gonna lie. So they got me. But, like, everybody's For You page is so different than mine, and I always think about this, like, when people talk about this drama or that drama, I'm like, "Where did this come from?"
yeah,
I just have people talking about sci-fi and fantasy on my FYP, and I'm chilling. But, like,
yeah.
y'all are talking about these, like, this creator drama and that creator drama. But going back to, like, Spotify, the AI artists, TikTok, and the AI, creators that are there now, that, like, I saw a couple of videos 'cause I was watching a podcast who was talking about them, and I was like, "This makes me uncomfortable."
Mhm.
YouTube, who finally did something about the AI slop
Oh, yeah.
content on their stuff, I was like, "Dubs to YouTube, we needed that."
Yeah.
Um, so people are like, it does annoy me that people were able to get on the trend, make their bag, and then this kinda stuff happened, but I'm happy it is still at least happened now
Mhm.
so that I can at least have less people on my shorts saying, "I can show you how to make $5,000 in a week with AI videos. Just
Course.
join my course and you'll be up and running within the week."
Yeah.
And then nobody does.
Yeah. No,
So
I think the AI in art conversation is happening in like multiple industries. I remember seeing, I'm forgetting the name of the artist, but I remember seeing a TikTok where someone just said they were felt betrayed and heartbroken that
mhm,
this new artist who they really were excited about and they loved turned out to be AI.
yeah,
And it was like there were questions like, what does it say about my music taste? Like, what does it say about me as a human? Like, am I like really like, falling for this AI slop? And there were a lot of people sounding off in the comments saying, I felt the same way. Like, I didn't know. But wait, are you telling me this person's AI? Like, and there was so much bewilderment,
mhm.
right? And I think it's because it feels like you're getting the rug pulled from beneath you.
S Rug pulling is like back in the day, it was crypto rug pulling, right? And now it's AI art rug pulling. And
Hmm.
but what makes me a bit more afraid of Aparna is back to what we talked about before is then because there's a current hypervigilance with, like, afraid of being rug pulled by AI, people will just start accusing other people of AI if they
Yeah,
don't like them,
that's the witch hunts, right? It's
right?
the witch hunts, the witch trials, McCarthy trials, like it.
Yep.
And I think that's the dark, ugly side of it.
Mhm.
And I've always said this: it's going to hurt BIPOC and marginalized writers the most,
For
and it
sure.
and indirectly readers, because
Mhm.
you're going to have less voices that represent you.
Yep.
Because you have someone who might be, jealous of a woman of color who might have um, like a big publishing deal. Like the same thing with H.M. Wolf. She had a seven-figure publishing deal, and then I think then there was like the AI accusations, and you're just kind of like, with weird timing that this comes right when she announces that she
Mhm.
like a big deal.
Yeah.
um and so it makes me deeply uncomfortable because it's gonna these accusations are gonna hurt people who are already vulnerable and marginalized even more.
Mhm.
And the people who already have the upper hand in the industry, even if they say they have AI in their book, they're still going to sometimes get
Yeah.
away with it. We're seeing some writers already do that
Yep.
and get away with it and get publishing deals or like book box.
Mhm.
And you're just kind of like, are we, what is this simulation? Like, are we like for real
Yeah.
right now? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I really hope we don't go down the slippery slope of like witch hunts.
Yep.
And I think we need to understand like what does due diligence look like? Right?
Mhm.
We have to push, I think as consumers, push publishers to say, okay, what's the standard now?
Mhm.
Like how are you going to detect AI? Are you using AI detector? Is this AI detector correct? Like
Is
what
this AI detector actually gonna detect AI? Is
AI,
honestly the golden question.
right? Because you're just like it just told me this 10-year-old book that was written before AI even existed has AI in it.
Mhm.
It's like, are you stupid? Like I think this
Yeah.
AI is stupid. Like
I think this AI was trained, as with that book, so it's like, "Oh,
it,
this is in my bank right now, so it's gotta
yeah,
be for me,"
yeah.
right? So AI is
So
like, "This is me."
how do you like figure that out? And it makes me, it's like, okay, are we going to enter more of a police state where writers have to submit screenshots or timestamps of
That's
like,
gonna suck for so many writers though, because it's gonna add so much more friction to the process, and
yeah,
writing is already such a friction-heavy process.
yeah,
Publishing is a friction-heavy process, that adding more friction to it because of the advent of AI is just like it might not affect a lot of people because they're like, "You know what? It's fine. I already do a lot of work on this anyway. What's a little bit more to make sure that, my book isn't have AI and I have a better future for it, whatever it is." Right? But then I think about people that are like, "I have to do all that stuff to get my book published? Fuck no."
yeah, yeah.
So it is very murky.
It's murky, it's difficult, it's complex, but I think it's a conversation we need to have. And it's gonna take, I think, a couple of years for us to, break through it and break it down, but we can't ignore it. Like,
Yeah.
or else it's gonna be just a bigger like obstacle. It's gonna be a bigger problem for us later down the line.
Mhm.
So
You know
Yeah.
what, you know what else is gonna be a bigger problem for us down the line? It's if people aren't putting Punjabi gurt in their chai. So let's talk about the other side.
Exactly.
Segue king. Segue king. And so this is around the time. So before this, I just always got a lot of your book content. Which, by the way, guys, we need to bring back transition videos with books because when I first got onto Book Talk back in 2022, which
Yeah.
by the way, I didn't even think I was getting onto Book Talk. I was also just making booktube videos, and I was like, I should probably just put these clips on Instagram, TikTok, and Shorts. That's just
Yeah.
what I was told. So I didn't even think I was getting onto Book Talk. Anyways, my number one favorite book transition video of all time is closing the laptop, which means you close the book and then you bring the book out. Seamless. And you
Yeah.
keep doing that. I fuck with it. But then I started seeing other content, which maybe you also started talking about. You started talking about chai, right?
Yeah.
You started talking to all the South Asian
Community.
girlies, but also some not South Asian girlies. Like, listen,
Yeah.
let me put you on game. Chai,
Yeah.
not just any chai. Put these specific things in your chai.
Yeah.
Okay? Aparna Verma, Flat Tummy Queen is talking about this right now. So
Yeah.
I wanted to kinda break that down of, like, why?
Why, like, why?
Why are we talking about it now?
Well, it's good question. It's because I got really sick.
Mm,
I lost all my hair, so that's why it's like up like this.
I see.
Um, I in the summer of 2025, so it was last year, I was officially I got to a point where I couldn't walk
Mhm,
anymore. I went from being like someone who could hip thrust over 200 pounds, like twice my weight, who rides horses, to like not being able to walk. Like I
mhm.
physically could not get out of bed. I felt like one of
Oh
those
my
beetles,
gosh.
like who's on its back and then just
Mhm,
because my body was so inflamed. I remember going to rheumatologist, going to doctor's office, crying in the car, crying in offices because I just didn't know what was happening. Eventually found out I had an autoimmune condition and my life just changed drastically. It
mhm,
also changed how I wrote and how often I
mhm.
write because I couldn't physically write. It
Yeah.
hurt to sit. It hurt to use my hands because
Mhm.
my hands were like this.
Yeah.
I still can't close my hands into fists.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I entered this like new episode in life, I suppose, where I had to reevaluate what I took for granted before, my
Mhm,
health being one of those.
mhm,
And it was a really deep learning process and illuminating because I think being young, you feel invincible. I was
mhm.
also someone who was very super healthy. Like I would work out 3 to 4 times a week. I ate whole foods. Like I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. Like I was going to hot Pilates like twice a week. Like I
Yep,
was in my prime and suddenly I still got sick.
yep.
Right? And so to me, it was the reason I started making these videos about autoimmune conditions, about general health, about putting people on game of like how to, bring down inflammation was because that was something that acutely matters to me because
Mhm,
I'm going through it. And that's something I was like, if I can help someone in that process, then that makes me feel better. Or
mhm,
if in this way of helping others and, teaching them my tips and tricks, I learned someone else's tips and tricks, that helps me. So I
mhm.
think it was more so like me trying to find community through it,
Yeah.
you know? And I found some like amazing like people and amazing like autoimmune warriors who have been able to, deal with these conditions and like live a fruitful, fulfilling life.
Mhm.
Um, and that's kind of where that all started and
Yeah,
how I started like branching out. I think I had to like of course pay homage to, my South Asian roots because a lot of what helped me was Ayurveda. Like,
yep,
going back to like the ancient sciences of India. And I was like, you know what? People are now seriously listening to like traditional Chinese medicine. Like that was like a
yep,
big trend in the winter where everyone's
yep.
like, oh my gosh, drinking warm water. astounding, and I'm like,
which my entire family is shivering in their boots. My dad has been doing that for over a decade. My sister started doing, like, 3 or 4 years ago. I think my mom does it now. They're trying to get me to do it. I'm like, "Fuck off." But, like, it's just, like, the amount of people who are like, "Ghee is so good for you," or whatever it is a few years ago, right? And I'm like, "We make that at home. I'm not gonna go." Well, my
yeah,
parents make that at home. Your
yeah.
boy is not purifying butter at home right now. Um, but it's these things. It's
Yeah,
these things that are being picked up now. Once again, make it seem like it's new. But
yeah,
that is not to cut you off, and I wanna go back to what you're saying. I do wanna say though, gang, we've been crone since 2011 or 2012, Crohn's
right,
gang right here.
yeah,
Um, the one thing that I heard from your entire story, which isn't done, I wanna hear the rest of it, is that you kept the positivity
mhm,
throughout it at least, or at least the optimistic nature of who your personality, and at least you kept it,
mhm.
which I like to believe along with the Ayurveda and along with, like, the ancient medicines of, like, your mood boosts your health tenfold.
I totally agree.
Um, and to give just a small anecdote was when I was diagnosed with Crohn's, I was doing, like, and this was when I had flare-ups, it was bad.
Mm, yeah,
Um, I went on and I had to do it every 8 weeks, go from Paris, Texas. My parents had to take me out of school, drive an hour and 45 minutes to Plano, Texas, to
mm,
get the infusion, a blood infusion done, for, like, to sit there for 3 hours with a needle in my arm and then
yeah,
drive back.
yeah,
I kept myself positive throughout,
yeah,
or eventually throughout this time. And there were some tricks that I and some things that I would say to myself to keep me positive, but it was mainly because I noticed with the flare-ups, if I'm in a good mood, flare-ups don't hurt as bad, or they just don't flare up, and I don't feel that bad. If I'm in a bad mood, everything feels worse.
yeah. And it's crazy. So speaking about, like, when it comes to book three, I have been like working on it for like the last year or so. So like before I had my first ever flare up before I was diagnosed, before all this happened, and without revealing too much, too many spoilers, I the
D
book
does somebody have Crohn's in there? Is that what you did? You just felt like
there
this character?
no, but I remember writing this in the beginning of the book. One of the characters feels like their body betrayed them,
Mhm,
and they enter this very dark space where, like, they're not able to function as they used to be.
mhm.
And I wrote this months before that happened to me. And I just remember going back to those passages when I was going through my flare, and I was like, did I predict this? Did I manifest this? Like, did this somehow?
I need
Did I
you
fix myself? Like, what is happening?
I think we do this a lot, and I need you if I remember to, I wanna send you this section from my podcast with Tim a couple of weeks ago, where he talked about this exact thing. It was like when he wrote every single one of his first 3 books
Mhm.
into his 4th book, he was like, the themes that I was talking about were either the things that were going on in life that
Yeah.
happened to me, or the things that were then to be coming into my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he's like, "I need to stop talking about these deep topics or whatever it is, because I'm, like, manifesting those into my own life apparently
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
spending hours writing this." But I feel like that's what we do.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's like a your subconscious of, like, "This hasn't hit us yet, but fate's coming, so let's talk about this right now."
Yeah.
Um, but I'm so happy to hear that you're on the up. By the way, um, very, very happy to hear that. Uh, we don't need book 3 that soon that you can take. Sorry, we do need book 3 that soon, but we also want you. I speak for the collective community who has enjoyed Ravence for, like, how many ever years it's been out, that we wanna fit in fighting Aparna,
Yeah.
and then we wanna fit in fighting Elena.
Yeah.
And then we wanna fit in fighting Yasun, and then we wanna fit in fighting Samson, and
Yeah.
anybody else who you add into this book afterwards.
Yeah.
I think you should go back and rewrite book 1 and just give Arish Crohn's. Just put Crohn's somewhere in there. Um,
That's funny.
but
Yeah.
wow.
You
Yeah,
mean
I
like
didn't
the secret deep edit? That's
the
what.
just you just write it and just send me that copy. I'll be like, "I have the only copy of where I was put into this book, and you know how I know it's me? Because he also has Crohn's." Um, but wow, so many things.
Yeah, dude. Like I will say, like, when you have uh when your health is in the dumps, like everything suddenly becomes crystal clear, like what your priorities are, you know?
Yeah.
And to me, it was taking care of myself, understanding that I actually have a really strong support group. And I think I took that for granted. Like I didn't realize how many people I had in my corner until I fell sick. And
Mhm.
I saw like how many people, my friends and family just made sure I was okay. And that was like very emotional for me because I think I've always been a person who's eldest daughter, super independent, like hyper independent. I will figure it out myself. Like I don't
Yeah.
need help. To then have the grace of like, wait, I actually do need help, and not
Mhm.
and try my hardest to not feel guilty about that.
Yeah.
Accepting help. It's it's not a sign of weakness. It's just that people care for you and they love you, and you should accept that. Like why does it hurt? So I think that was a very eye opening experience, and I'm sure in some book later on we're gonna see that. I've actually um in the summer, as I was dealing with the monstrosity called the US healthcare system
Fair.
and navigating, all the little ridiculous things. I had a surgery that went wrong, like, like it was yeah. And I started writing a book,
Yeah.
and it's a dark academia body horror about a necromancer who goes to a medical college. Um, and finds out that the medical college has been experimenting on students, specifically black and brown bodies, to fuel the empire's scientific endeavors. And it's something that I started, just playing around with, and I felt very strongly because it was kind of my hate letter to the U.S. healthcare.
Mhm.
So when is that coming out? I don't know. I hope Orbit
Yeah.
buys
I
it.
wa I'll put this up here. I wanna read this so bad. Anyways, we're gonna bring the mic back here now. Because when you told me this last year, I was like, body horror. Does that fit into
Yeah,
the intro, like, list of books that he likes to read? Not necessarily. Dark academia, he hasn't really read books like that much ever at all, but Aparna's writing it,
yeah,
and because you're writing it means I have to read it anyways. And
yeah,
so what I appreciate is that you're actually going into this new type of genre, whatever it is, because then it also exposes me
yeah.
to reading it because I'm going to read it. I actually prefer nowadays, instead of like I read specific genres or I read specific types of books, like I read specific authors,
Mm,
because I've found that like if a really good author can make any genre really good,
yeah,
right? And so it's like, okay, cool. I have now once again trusted the human behind what I'm reading
yeah,
to give me more things to read and more things to consume and more things to cry over.
yeah.
Um, so that sounds so good because you just told me you like last year you just told me like dark academia body horror, and I was like, and then when you just told this right now,
Yeah,
I was like, yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes,
And this is again like AI doesn't know what it means to be shuttled between the cancer ward, uh,
mm-hmm,
waiting like for 2 hours while you're sitting in pain for the doctor to see you. It doesn't understand that.
mm-mm,
It doesn't understand the trauma, the shame, the 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 sense of like you are utterly out of control, like
mm-hmm,
of your life. Like there's nothing you can control right now.
mm-hmm,
You are at the mercy of your body.
yeah,
And it doesn't know that. It can't emulate that. Only a human can say that. And
mm-hmm,
only you know what it is because you've experienced it too.
yeah,
Right? And this is the beauty of human empathy and shared connection. If
yeah,
AI were to write that, it just feels so shallow.
yeah,
Wouldn't understand the texture of that pain or the texture of that shame or the deepness of that betrayal of feeling your body no longer respond in the way it used to, right?
yeah,
There's so many tangled human emotions that come with it, and AI just all it does is echo, all it does is mimic.
mm-hmm,
Can't really understand the depth of those emotions.
yeah. And I think that's like one thing that we we tried to get across a lot when we talk with people either in person or online. It just doesn't really click, and it's the concept of, for example, I'm not gay. I have a wife. So me talking about the struggles of the LGBTQ community isn't weighted the same as somebody else who's in that community, who's faced those struggles, talking about it. Like, I'm gonna feel so much more if somebody from that community is telling me how it feels
Yeah.
than me going to my friend saying, do you know they feel like this?
Yeah.
You should really care." I don't have that, right? The same, like, AI is like, "Did you know that people with autoimmune conditions, like, feel like this and
Yeah.
how they're like, they can't trust their bodies and they have to stand for long periods of time because they can't trust themselves to sit down?"
Yeah.
No, nobody can feel that, but I can tell you how that feels,
Yeah.
and you can talk about how that feels, and so it's like, and when we do this song and dance all the time of like, "Why am I hearing this from someone who isn't going
Yeah.
through it?"
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's because we like to feel detached from the problem. Maybe it's too close to the issue because you're telling it to me. And so
Mhm.
I'm feeling these feelings that I don't wanna feel because I'm so used to bearing and I'm so used to numbing and I'm so used to like stimming and like bearing it versus and so I'll get my news from the third party objective individuals just so I can know the information, but I don't wanna feel like the emotions of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it, it, great books make you question who you are or the world around you. I think at the end of the day, great books make you question the world around you, and that is a superpower.
Mhm.
Um, and with great power comes great responsibility,
Who
right?
said that, by the
Who
way?
said that,
Who
right?
said that?
And I'm just kind of like, are we really going to shove that off to AI?
Mhm,
Like, have people not read Dune? Did they not hear the thing about the thinking machines and how this in Frank Herbert? For those of you who aren't like big Dune fans,
B.
Dune books are a result of like thinking machines or AI taking over the world and almost killing humanity.
Mhm,
And there's this passage where Paul said there's like this, they have these teachings of like the AI machines, like thou shall not let a machine think for you.
mhm.
Because what happens? They try to kill you.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
why it's like in every I think a lot of sci-fi books and like movies, like when the AI, this whole idea of AI like first introduced, why is it that AI's first predilection is conquering? It's because it's based off of humans. It's based
Mhm,
off of human behaviors. We're just creating something that's an echo of ourselves, but it's
mhm.
our worst and most base desires.
Yeah,
And so you're gonna have AI want to take over the world because that's what humans do. Do we really want to write the end of our own, I
yeah,
don't know, civilization? That's all. That's a doom and gloom of it, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
I know there are like other use cases where AI is actually hopeful, especially medicine. You
Mhm.
know, so I do think there are like actually some brilliant um, use cases of AI where it can actually benefit society,
Yep.
right? What if we were to have self-driving cars that lead to less drunk driving, that lead to less, accidents and like accidental death? Like that would be amazing, right? Um, but I also don't want AI to like write my books. I don't want AI
Mhm,
to then, watch surveil me and create like a surveillance state, right? And
mhm.
and create Big Brother,
Yeah.
uh, like exacerbate that problem. So, um, yeah, I don't know where else I was going with that, but
Did
there's
you
so many.
have you seen the news about when this, like, whole thing about agentic AI came out and AI agents and stuff?
Mhm.
There was, like, people are setting up these AI agents to do their work and buy these things
Yeah.
and sell these things and all that stuff, right? And I'm saying that I saw this, but I'm 100% not sure the validity of or the actual accuracy of how deep it goes, but
Mhm.
I saw something about this, like, an AI created a website to hire humans to do, like, work,
Okay.
and I'm like, "That's weird, 'cause a different dude made the agent to have the agent go do the thing. And part of the thing that the agent went to go do was, I'm gonna set up this website to hire out temp workers.
Yeah.
So they hired out, and so an AI hired out human temp workers, and I'm like, that is the most basic semblance. That's the word I was looking for, semblance is of basic semblance of like what we could lead towards or what we could head
Yeah.
towards is one person makes it, the AI does that person's command, and the AI then directs other humans
Yeah.
because that other person's like, I don't want to direct humans right now. I'm doing other things.
Yeah.
Um, so I saw that and I was like, that was crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I think like there are definitely like AI. It would be great if AI just became like a very smart assistant who could help you with your like make your life easier or simpler. Like I don't know, follow up on doctor's appointments when you're waiting on lab tests and the
Yeah,
doctor doesn't contact you and you're like sitting there on like pins and needles. They're like, wait, what's happening? And
yeah,
maybe the doctor was like harried and like it was really busy in the day in the clinic and they just couldn't get to it.
yeah,
But here you are like thinking like, what does this mean for my body, my life
yeah,
right now, right?
yeah,
This is where AI can come in and be like
yeah,
and create that for you, like send that email or send over the lab report because someone in the clinic forgot to hit send,
yeah.
right? So
That's like
I
that's we could set agents up to do that, like Copilot and Claude
yeah,
being in your interface and stuff.
right,
It's just like for consumers like you have the consumers who have no idea how AI works. You have consumers who are in the middle that are like, okay, I like playing with AI. That's me. I like
yeah,
going into Claude and I like him making these little like mini little coded projects that I like to use. Right now, I love having him make book randomizers for me. And then
yeah,
you have the people who are like hell bent on having AI be the best that it can be.
yeah,
So for the people in the middle, that's us
yeah.
who want AI to be able to do things without us having to spend the time to set it up. And I think that's the really hard thing right now is like I have to
Mhm.
you have to spend like half a day to a full day to set up certain things
Yeah,
for then it to do it. And it's like I don't have the time to do that.
yeah,
I also don't know if I'm doing it right.
yeah.
And things like that. Because as soon as they talk about Clawbot, as soon as Claude came out with all these different agentic AI, I was like, how can I use Claude to make Fableware marketing so much easier? Because I fucking hate marketing. I really do. I really hate marketing. I'm gonna crash out. I hate marketing so much. I
Yeah,
can't do ads. I'm really bad at it. I just want to make the thing. I want somebody else to push it for me.
yeah,
Anyways, so I was like, if I want Claude to do this thing, I have to spend like 2 weeks trying to figure out how Claude can even do this thing for me in the first place, and then set it up, and then do all this stuff. And so we need a way to like make that process easier, you know?
yeah.
That was just my rant. I don't even think I had a point with that. I just kind of ranted. I did just kind of rant. I'm
We're
not
just
gonna.
we're here to yap. I mean,
We
like
we
we're
really need to yap and rant about AI. This has turned into an AI like centered podcast, and I love that because I don't. To your point, I don't get to nerd out about this stuff with just anybody.
yeah,
There's everybody that knows like a different layer of like the thing. So I appreciate thank you for letting me be able to nerd out about this with you,
yeah,
because there's so many facets to it. Um, but yo, guys, can we just talk about how um how good this shirt came out though? I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
yes,
And I also called Aparna onto this podcast. I was supposed to do this at the very beginning, and I completely forgot to because we started talking.
yeah.
And I want to apologize to you actually. I have to tell you that I'm sorry, Aparna.
Why?
And here's why I'm sorry. Only 2 out of the 5 designs that I've made for, like, your series has been good, because these 2 were bangers. But then the 3rd one that I made for of Samson, I went back and I think about that as, like, this shit just didn't come out right, and I know and I just have to I have to go back to the artist, give him new sketches or new, like, reference artwork and be like, "Fucking redo Samson, please." That was an abysmal Samson, and I still send it to you.
I have all the artwork that I commissioned of Samson. Now you can give him as reference.
Oh, I'm going to. I'm
Yeah,
going to. But, like, I'm like just coming off the high of this and trying to, like, recreate what's in my brain to do that, and this is where it's like, okay, I'm really trying to be respectful to the process and ask somebody to make it. And so what I did was I went into Canva and I was like, how do I want it to look? What parts of it do I need? What do I like? And just like paste like a little vision board in Canva to say, here's kind of what I'm thinking. But
yeah,
also here's this reference art. Did not come out good. So that was the first thing. And I was like, I have to tell Aparna because she
yeah,
needs to know how fucking shitty this item is right now. And then the second thing was the second idea I had, which was Samson and Elena, and my vision of it was, do you watch anime? Are you
yeah.
do you okay.
Well, the
So
last I used to watch a lot. Like the last one I finished was like Attack on Titan, and I'm actually looking for a new anime to watch. My
Okay.
brother has been wanting to me to get into the anime world for a very long time, and like,
We would welcome you with open arms and
yeah,
yes. So there's this very like typical like crazy mad scientist kind of look when it comes to like an anime character, and I
yeah,
was trying to have Samson and Elena be recreated in that like pose, image, like whatever it is, with their hands of flame.
yeah,
And so, but I just couldn't find the correct pieces of like art to symbolize the pose and stuff. And so what came out came out.
yeah,
And I looked at it and I was like, damn, this shit sucks. And I still had to send it to you. And I'm like, fuck. So now I'm 2 for 5 now.
yeah,
I'm 2 for 5 with this shit.
yeah,
And so I'm trying to think like, and by the way, guys, I do all of these by myself. I don't like Aparna doesn't ask for any of this. I just do it because it's just in my brain. I have to bring it to life, and I don't care how much money I have to spend to do it to commission my artist to do it. But I'm like, I'm so sorry for creating such certain certain like lab experiments that just kind of exist. We love them. We love all our lab experiments. We really do. They make us who we are. But oh my god, Aparna, like that shit felt when I was like, this is my final product,
yeah.
and I can't turn this into anything good.
But listen, I think like another thing, and this is something I've learned and gotten better with, is like giving artistic direction, right? Because when you are commissioning art and working with an artist, every artist is also different.
Yep.
And some of them, like my girl Nok Nguyen, she and I are like this. She was my first ever commission. I was her first ever commission. We've been working together since 2020 for The Boy with Fire.
Mhm.
She's the one who created all the official artwork for the Phoenix King, the
That
artwork
shit's
that's
so
inside the book,
fire.
the
Oh
artwork
my
that's inside the
god.
Burning Queen, like all the cards of Alina and Samson. It's all her. Um, and like love her to death. Will commission her for as long as she allows me, you know.
Mhm.
But it took me some time to understand what does it mean to commission art,
Yep.
like give the artistic direction, like the references, the poses, how to be respectful in my like criticism and the
Yep.
critiques. Okay, here's the feedback. Like I love the vision, but actually could you do it this way?
Yep.
And how to work with the artist and their own workflows.
Yep.
So it takes some time. Like, and sometimes I've gotten like not bad, I wouldn't say bad art, but like bad direction.
Yep.
And it was a reflection of because I gave bad direction.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying of, like, the stuff that I gave them to work off of, I'm like, "You just didn't give them the right stuff." Like, I
Yeah.
know it's in your brain, but,
Yeah.
like, you couldn't sketch out exactly what you wanted, or you didn't spend the time trying to sketch out exactly what you wanted. You tried to find the reference images online, you couldn't find them, and you
Yeah.
just tried to, like, piece something together to get it done in the timeline that you wanted, and it's not gonna work.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
And
that to say
and the artist becomes confused and it's like, I'm sorry, I should have given better direction. Yeah.
exactly, exactly, and so at that point, I'm like, "Okay, cool, we're just gonna take this delivery, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna
Yeah.
sit in how bad this feels, and I'm gonna let these emotions then spur the next better one."
Yeah. I mean, that Yasin and Alina artwork.
That was my first idea, and it kept me awake, but I also spent time on it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm like, "Okay, cool, I wanna spend time on the next few," which I have 6 designs that I already paid the artist for that I didn't get to use because that person backed out, which means that s it's getting used somehow.
Yeah.
So,
Might be for the
we'll
burning.
drop it there. We'll drop it there. It's getting used somehow,
I love it.
when homeboy comes back from Eid. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
That was my apology to you, Aparna, because I think kid you not, I think about that weekly. That shit is my Roman Empire. I don't know, and it's only because it just didn't pan out, and I felt disappointed.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I'm very excited to see what you come up with next because I think you're gonna like, you've learned
yeah,
your lesson.
yeah, exactly. And I think I'm just trying to think like, what is it about the characters, right?
Mhm.
Because I do think at some point I do want them in my Fableware chibi style, but then
Mhm.
there's certain like interactions that I really, like, wanna create. Like, I kinda do wanna go back and recreate the mad scientist one because that's just how I see Elena and Samson in book 2. Because 'cause they're
Yeah.
just, like they're just mad scientisting the entire book, and it's like taking the seriousness of the situation and adding a comedy twist to it is what I love to do. It is
Yeah.
just part of my personality, unfortunately. Fortunately. So, that's, like, me needing to go back to the drawing board of, like, how do I actually have to get up on camera and take pictures of, like, how I want the post to be,
Yeah.
and then, like, make sure the facial expression is the biggest thing, because like, if it doesn't look like they're
Yeah.
psychotic, then it's just not gonna work.
So,
Not
yeah.
saying that they are, but, like, the image doesn't look psychotic, but
Although sometimes Alina and Samson do act psychotic in
they're so sociopathic.
let's
They're
be
so they're
honest.
so fucking aggressive, it's awesome. It's really crazy, actually.
And
Um,
I had a lot of fun definitely writing their interactions, writing Samson. Alina's bloodletting scenes were just like, they were like
it's
the
so
character.
fast-paced, though, too, which is why I was like, "How do we get here?" Which I
Yeah.
appreciate, like, it's not no, it is a pretty quickly paced story, which I think is really good. It
Yeah.
doesn't it doesn't give you time it gives you time to sorry, it gives you time to sit with the characters, but it doesn't give you time to get bored or
Yeah.
get in a lull or get in a slow period or whatever it is, right? Like, things are always happening in some form or fashion.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, like, that's why um, like, the Phoenix King and this happens with a lot of book ones, is, like, the entry into the world, right? There's a lot
Mhm.
more world building, there's a lot more, exposition that happens in book ones because you're getting introduced to the world, you're getting introduced to characters, the conflicts, etcetera. Book 2 and book 3s are all ramp ups,
Yep,
and that's what I wanted to do with The Burning Queen. It's like, I wanted it to be a ramp up. It's like, "Okay, I'm giving you maybe just a little time to breathe in act 1, and then boom, act 2 and 3 are just
yep,
you can't put the book down because things
yeah.
are moving so quickly. People are betraying each other left and right. There's all these twists. Um, there might be kisses every now and then, but then the book ends. They're like,
But,
I what?
okay, so I read this book back in the day called You Again.
Yeah,
I know people on Book Talk liked it. I fucking hated it. It was like 2 destructive personalities kept, like, meeting each other over a specific span of time. I thought I didn't like the trope of destructive personalities because of that book.
yeah. Hmm.
And then I
Okay.
read The Burning Queen, and I was like, "I don't mind this. I don't mind reading about this." It's a little bit odd how they can, like, be really angry and, like, fight and then, like, kiss in the next time or be very, like, soft and, like, be
Yeah,
very, like, vulnerable with each other. I was like, "I don't get this because it doesn't work in my brain."
yeah,
But I read it. I like it. I actually do enjoy it. And so that's why it goes back to, like, it's not about I like these tropes. I like the authors who write these tropes because they write it in a way that I like it,
yeah, yeah.
right?
And I think, like, I remember someone, like a reader, told me and commented, like, they when they think about Samson and Alina, it's like they hate to love each other or desire each other, but they wouldn't have it any other way.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, I
Fair.
think that's right. That's right on the
Clocked
money.
it.
Yes. I was like, that is exactly correct. And I think it makes it so fun, is to have, like, very big personalities in one room. And that is, I have always envisioned these two characters is that
Mhm.
they're very ambitious leaders. You have two people who want freedom for their nations, who will do anything to, like, get to that,
Mhm.
including backstabbing and betraying each other. So what happens? Where do we go from here? And it was a lot of fun, a lot of great time in developing their relationship and really getting to individual psyches. But I think what was my favorite part of the book was seeing Alina level up in
Mhm.
a way, and not only just her power, like learning how to use to be a quote unquote blood bender, heat bender
Mhm.
through the chakra magic system, which I
Yep.
thought was fun. Like, I thought, I was like, this is genius. I don't know how other people feel about it, but I thought,
It's
like,
banger.
like
Excuse me. It's banger.
I loved it. I was like, I haven't seen anything like this. Of, like, how you use chakras to also, like, manipulate people's
Mhm.
bodies like they were a puppet. But I love how Alina kind of steps into being quote unquote the bad guy. The person who at the end of the day will take the blame if that means
Mhm.
seeing her country be free.
Yep.
If that means she has to become the monster herself to, like, contend with other monsters. Um,
Mhm.
I think in book 3 that is it's gonna come to a crux of, like, okay, at what point is it too much? At what point, do you like, do you lose yourself and become a monster, right?
I just
But
want yes, son.
yeah,
I just want yes, son. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm looking right here at the brand of this boom arm that's holding this microphone, and it's saying Samson in bold italicized letters at me right now, and I just want yes, son.
yeah.
That's all I want. That's all I want in life.
I know, but I guess this is a spoiler, right? Like if people have read book two, like they know how it ends, and there's like certain characters who they will get to see again.
Mhm.
And I'm very excited for you to see these characters because they were, very near and dear to my heart. Um, and all I'm gonna say is I have been working. I'm still searching to find an animator because
Mm.
I have the most banger idea for like a book trailer, like an animated book trailer. And I need an anime fighting style, right? Like where it's, like JJK,
Yep,
you know. And
yep.
I'm just like, I'm still on the hunt for an animator. So if anyone's
Okay.
listening and you're a good animator, hit me up because I have been saving the money. I'm like willing to pay for this, but and commission like real non AI artwork. But I just want this vision to be because kind of like what you're saying, like, you have an idea of like what you want to see and you can't sleep because you're like, I got to bring it to life. Like, how do I bring
Yep.
it to life? Even though I don't have the skills to do it, I'm not an animator. I can't draw more than a stick figure. I think this is something that really shows the quote unquote three Agnis um,
Mhm.
ahead. And I just can't wait to see that come to life in an
Yeah.
animation. So I'm looking. I'm still searching.
Ooh. I'm gonna clip that section out so we can try and find somebody and we can just post it online because that would be amazing. I love the animeification. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love the animeification of fight scenes. When
Yeah,
certain books I read, I can only see them in an anime fighting style,
yeah,
not in a real life fighting style. I was
right.
reading Morningstar and Red Rising right now, and the fight scene at the end of it, I was like, I need this thing animated. I really do. I need to see it. I need to see it in person. Um, that sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. Aparna, we've been talking for about almost 2 hours. We've been talking for about an hour and 45 minutes here. I wanna keep going, but it is now midnight, and
Yeah.
so doxing myself a little bit, but this was amazing.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. This was a very meaningful conversation, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time and sitting here with me. I have a couple more questions for you before I let you go.
Okay.
And the first one is where can people find you if they wanna keep up with what you're doing?
TikTok, I'm Aparna Writes. You can find me hopefully in your local Barnes and Noble. Go buy a copy of The Phoenix King and The Burning Queen. And then on Instagram, I'm spirited_gal. So you can find me all over.
Lovely.
I think that's the same on Threads as my Instagram. So
Yeah, probably. Awesome. And the second thing is something that I ask everybody who comes on the podcast. Since this is your first time on the podcast, you're getting question number one, which
okay.
is for anybody listening today who maybe has listened to this entire conversation, what is one piece of advice that you'd like to give them today?
Ooh. Protect human creativity. And in our theme of
In
AI
the spirit of the podcast. Love it.
conversation, and do what you can to protect human creativity, your own creativity. The world, capitalism will try to beat it out of you and try to tell you that you don't have time. You will have time if if you carve it out.
Mhm.
Where there's a will, there's a way. I really believe that. So I think if you want to write, if you want to create art, if you want to tell your story, you need to carve out that time and put in the due
Mhm.
diligence um, to making your art. And if it's true and it's from the heart, I think people will really respond to it.
Love that. That sounds lovely. Aparna, thank you so much once again for coming on the podcast. Everybody, please clap for her wherever you are. If you are in public, you better be clapping still. I don't care. Everybody clap. And if you listened thus far, thank you for listening. And we will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.